This might be the most confession that wasn't a confession I think I can recall in anime ever. Yamada confesses to Ichikawa. Like, I'm trying to think of every way to examine this. There's no other way to actually view that. Right? Like, I'm not crazy, because every episode of this season of The Dangers in My Heart has pretty much been both of them accepting that, hey, I like you, oh shit, we both like each other, and we're getting closer and closer, but in very middle school romance situation, you know, it could still be 12 episodes from now. And even with this episode, it could be the middle of season 3 before they actually look each other in the eye and say that. But the idea of little douche nozzle confessing to Yamada, which I've never liked this guy. He's always given me bad vibes. He wasn't insufferable in this episode, but he's still, I don't like him. I don't like him at all. Tries to give the button from the unit. I don't know, is this like the equivalent of giving your class ring just in middle school? I don't know, it's cringy as shit from my point of view, but whatever. She holds the little dog keychain, which she gave to Ichikawa for his speech. Ichikawa gives it back to her when he's in the nurse's office, and the two of them sit on that, one on the couch, her in the chair, and she like holds in her hand. Sure, he doesn't see her hold it in her hand, but hey, I like someone else, and my hands are full. Our boy, and for anyone who even could consider that to be not a confession that was a confession, by the end of that exchange, Ichikawa's like, Yamada likes me. He leaves the nurse's office all like flustered. Yamada leaves, brighter than a cherry tomato, and they walk off in different directions. I don't think I can recall this ever happening. The number of times these two have pretty much accepted that the other likes them, and the fact that what is supposed to be a love triangle, which has continuously been thrown on its face, that moment when she drags her boy away from him at the soccer field there, because like, I don't want any mistake to be seen here, like, I like him, not you. Piss off, pretty much. I don't know, man. We either come into next week and there's a confession, or we come into season 4 and there's a confession. I have no fucking idea, but what a great episode. Full live reaction to this week's episode of The Dangers in My Heart over on my Patreon if you want to see me just melt at this show and just be like, what did I just see? It's over there if you're interested. This was... this is such a good show. It's technically underappreciated. Like, the people who watch it appreciate it, but like, this deserves like 10,000 Reddit karma if I'm being honest. Like, that's how much I like this show. The development our main character has gone through. I constantly hype up Yamada's VA, and rightfully so. She is perfect for that role. But Ichikawa, man. This was his episode. School representative, the class representative for the graduation, right? They're moving on to year 3, I believe. Originally supposed to be temporary, does horrible the first time, but holy shit, his actual speech was so good. It gave me chills. He memorized the first little bit because he forgot his speech at home. The sister tries to deliver this. I'm confused about the sister. She could have took a picture of it and texted it to him. Whatever. Then she didn't know where the school was. She has a GPS, but then decides to follow a dude to find... It's like, whatever. But we get a better scene because of it. Because ultimately, he goes off the script for what he remembers, and then it's all off the cuff. And holy shit, man. The confidence in his voice, and the fact that he's not really talking necessarily about the school as a whole, but it's more about himself, taking those experiences. What starts off as him looking at his imaginary version of himself, you know, the version he wants to be, kind of believing in himself. By the end of that speech, it's really looking at Yamada and the confidence in how everyone in the crowd, you know, all these connections that he's made with the friend groups between the guys and the girls, just how proud they are in that moment. And then the little douche nozzle realizing that it is indeed he's lost, and, you know, as he goes off to high school, Yamada ain't gonna keep in touch with him. It was just such a beautiful speech, and I love the encouragement that Yamada gave throughout this episode. The haircut was awesome because he basically is trying to, like, change his style, pretty much open up a bit more. Honestly, they styled it really well after the haircut, and then he comes to school pretty much looking like himself, and then they try to give him a makeover with some, you know, hair product. He looks like a Tokyo Revengers character, and then Yamada pretty much puts him back to the way he would be because that's how he's comfortable. He constantly is trying to pull his hair over his eyes to pretty much, you know, cover up his insecurity, his embarrassment, and it's so short now it barely works. Just so good. But like, usually I'd probably be annoyed, and usually I am annoyed, because like, if you followed me through different review series, I'm not a fan of the will they won't they being stretched. And everything about this show I should be annoyed with. I should. But I think the thing about this that works is because the age of the characters, they're like 14-ish in that area, give or take. And the fact that even though they haven't like looked each other in the eyes and said, hey girl, hey boy, let's date, they both know. And every episode we get something that feels like they're progressing more and more. And honestly, the confession at this point may be one of their friends being like, wait, haven't you guys been dating this whole time? And that's how it works out. Maybe, I don't know. So on one hand, I kind of feel like a hypocrite because like, a lot of what the show's doing, I've criticized other romances for doing, but I feel like because they constantly give us development between both their personal characters, because here's the thing about Dangers in My Heart, it's not a show that's just about getting these two in a relationship, it's about developing both of them. Yamada with her insecurities about not being good enough for any one job and, you know, running to the next one, building that confidence for herself. Ichikawa, a little mini edgelord who used to have confidence when he was a kid, basically feeling like the social outcast, now being the class representative for graduation. Like, these characters are both developing while also figuring out that they really like, if not love, the other, right? And that's what makes it really rewarding and fulfilling. And I feel like that's why I don't feel like a hypocrite technically, but I could understand why people would be like, hey, Brand, didn't you criticize this one romance anime for dragging it out when, like, clearly they like it? It's like, this feels more developed. And I think that's what makes it a rom-com masterpiece, like one of the best that you can watch in this, honestly, past couple of anime decades. Like, this is going to be an anime classic. As long as we can, at the very least, get them to a relationship before they stop making anime seasons, I don't see why people wouldn't consider this to be one of the all-time anime greats for romances. In a perfect world, we get a full adaptation, but as long as we can get them into an actual relationship before they stop making seasons, I'll be a happy camper. Like, this episode legitimately makes me speechless because it has to be the most confession that wasn't a confession but really was a confession all mixed into one. They finally get rid of the last bit of drama that was trying to get in between them. It's weird because he actually was kind of parting that scene gracefully and then he had to try to do a lie and just, you know, remind us why he's such a douchebag. But they handled that nurse's scene so well because, man, so many shows would have made it so much more toxic, but they made it so wholesome, and I love how the group collectively is like, did they just, like, confess somebody? Like, what the hell just happened? Beats me, but it's fantastic. Let me know what you thought, because, honestly, it's probably going to be season 3 by the time the confession actually happens in the way that, like, hey, we're gonna date now, but they kind of have confessed at this point, right? I don't know, like, let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more. And like I mentioned, we have full live reactions over on my Patreon. And hey, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we have Blunkska Bolga, Hinokage, Kovacs Adam, Ishta, Mauve, and Curso. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.